You guys disappeared for a second. Can you still hear me?
Yep, we're good. Can you hear us?
Yeah. What happened there?
I started recording the video.
Oh, okay. No worries.
Yeah.
No worries. So anyway, I'm just gonna exit out of that. We're good. Okay. So what happened was, and you probably remember the part in the movie where we're at the conference and that 12-year-old kid walks up to the microphone and he's asking me questions.
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And well, the director was not really fond of that, and it's like, oh, it's all fun and games until the kids are involved. Think of the children. But he wasn't alone there. National Geographic took the same stance, and some really big YouTube channels, including the hypocrisy. Logan Paul, right? Whose demographic is 8th-grade boys. Even he was going, hey, they shouldn't be doing this flat Earth thing to kids. I'm going, that's all you do is teach kids things, bad things, by the way, and you're judging. Anyway, hey, sorry that I rant and I ramble. Please,
No, we liked it. We really enjoyed the fact, the rawness that you showed in your relationship with gosh, what was her name? The red-haired girl.
Patricia Steer.
Yes,
can
that's
we just
it.
get emotional for a second? Because I don't know, you watched our last video.
Yes,
so
I watched it all the way.
Yeah, Seth brings all of the like seriousness, the knowledge, the questions, and I just bring the like, oh yeah, like very emotional. So I will say, I told Seth, I'm like, they need to be together. They need to there's chemistry there. There's something there.
Yeah, she did say that.
Thank you for that. There is some chemistry there. We knew that the first week that we started doing a podcast type thing, but other people noticed it more than we did. What we didn't know was, because behind the scenes we would be talking on Skype, because she lives down in Houston and I'm up here in Seattle. We would be on Skype for hours and hours and hours. Then all of a sudden we realized, it's like, wait a minute. Why are we doing this privately? Why don't we just do a thing, because we're wasting production value here?
Yeah.
Because we realized that we were just rolling. It turned cyclical, and it was like a turbine. And so yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and we see each other now and again on public events. I don't know. People ask me that at the film festivals. People are saying, "What about you and Patricia?" I'm going, I don't know. We'll have to see. Honestly, Flat Earth.
I'm rooting for you guys.
Well,
like the whole documentary, I was like, they need to be together. They're totally crushing on each other. And so it's like, Britt, seriously, that's not what this is about. So
Part of that is, by the way, the editing. People do not know, unless you've done any sort of film stuff, the power in editing. You can do so much.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh my Lord! Even the freaking green button shot in the movie, which the director asked me if it was okay, if he could take a jab at me. How simple was that? Which was, he just lucked out, which was, as Patricia and I were leaving the scene, his camera was focused on the green button. And then all of a sudden, somebody in editing goes, what if we just have Mark not hit that button? Why don't we just cut that part out? It'll make Mark look like he missed something really, really obvious. Therefore, the globe must be obvious and Mark missed it. And it's like, oh yeah, it's brilliant. Really, really great. And it's like, all right, fine, take your shot. And yeah, which is fine. It's good.
That's awesome. Well, for those of you just joining us, we got Mark Sargent with us, and we're going to be answering some questions about the flat Earth. I think, it's become a huge thing just recently, in my opinion. I know that you've been involved in it for a few more years, but it just started blowing up on my social media kind of out of nowhere, I noticed. Right. And so that's kind of why I wanted to do the Conspiracy Theory Thursday on the flat Earth, just because I think, people were experiencing the same thing and had a lot of questions about what it really means, and where does it come from, and is it true? So I want to start tonight though with how we usually start, and that's scripturally. Mark, I don't know if you're a religious person, but
I am a religious person. You go right ahead.
Yeah, so we start every week with Psalm chapter 2, and I am a heathen and didn't bring my Bible with me, so I'm going to do it off of memory and probably paraphrase it. But Psalm chapter 2 talks about conspiracy, and it starts with why do the nations rage and the kings plot and conspire against the Lord and against his anointed, saying all these evil things, devising these evil plans. And so, tonight and every Thursday is dedicated to getting truth out to you guys, is to talk about these conspiracies, talk about these fringe topics that the church doesn't seem to want to talk about. And so we want to discuss these things with you guys and let you ask us questions. We like to bring on people that are more they've done a lot of research and they know what they're talking about. So that's why we brought Mark on, and we hope that we can answer some of your guys' questions. So make sure that you guys are sending in questions, because we got a pro here, guys. We got a pro.
We already have a couple questions.
Oh, I'm sure.
I want to say my question first.
Okay. All right.
So I guess my first question for you would be, when did you become enlightened to your view of the shape of the earth?
Yeah.
And like, when did that come about that you felt like you were fully convinced that the earth was flat?
Okay. I first looked into it, and anyone that knows me knows the story, and part of it is in the documentary, which is I first looked into it in 2014 because I'm older, and I thought at one point I'd finished the internet when it came to conspiracies. I thought I'd pretty much seen it all. Every conspiracy you can think of, I won't rattle them off here, but if you can think of it, I had an opinion on it. And flat Earth, I thought, okay, it's terrible, it's awful, but you know what? It's on my bucket list. I might as well look at it, get it out of the way. Fine, I can actually say that, oh yeah, I know something about flat Earth.
Yeah.
So I spent a weekend and I tried to shut the thing down. And 9 months later, I'm literally breaking a keyboard over my forehead going, there is no way, there is no way, there is no way, because I couldn't prove the globe in a court of law anymore. And what I try to tell people is I consider myself a clever problem solver, and I try to treat things kind of like a court case. And if the world is a court case, could I prove the flat Earth to you right now? No, of course not. If I could, I'd be on the cover of every magazine that there is.
Yeah.
Do people still buy magazines? I'm old. Doesn't matter.
Hey, I do. I
Oh,
totally.
good. It's great.
Matter of
So
fact,
what do you buy? Us Weekly, Tiger Beat, something?
No, I just like more like, tonight we went to go eat at a local restaurant here in town, and they have like those magazines that are like things around town, the Alibi, it's like a local one. I'm always about like looking through them. So I'm one that still likes some paper. So
Got it. So I tried to can I prove to you the flat Earth right now? No, I cannot. However, I can create so much reasonable doubt in the globe that there is nowhere else for you to go except for some sort of flat Earth model. And that is how just about everybody that gets into this, the t-shirt literally reads, I became a flat earther because I tried to disprove it. And that's how everybody hates it. Everybody hates it. And so, yeah, 9 months. So in the beginning of 2015, I woke up, if you've ever seen the movie Jerry Maguire, I woke up with that Jerry Maguire moment. I said, you know what? I'm going to do something completely nuts. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to build a series of videos and put it out to the internet hive mind and say, okay, I can't solve this myself. Internet, you're really smart. Help me out here. And I put the videos out one every day. I did the first 7 and 8 days.
Yeah.
And when I was done, I'm just holding my breath and I put my phone number, which is super smart to do, and my address and my real name and all this. I encourage everybody to do that. That's such a great thing to do.
Yeah.
And when I did it, I was waiting for some academic to call me up and shut me down. And instead, the opposite happened, where there were people just calling me out of the blue saying, wow, man, this is really interesting. And then people wanted to interview me, podcasts I've never heard of before. Big groups were starting to call me, and it started scaling up. And then I had subject matter experts calling me, members of the armed forces, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, pilots, engineers, air traffic controllers, people that specialize in transportation. They're all contacting me out of the blue because my phone number's out there. And they said, you know what? You may be onto something. And I'm going, I don't want to hear that. I want you to shut me down. It's like, no, man, no, there's something going on here. I'm going, really? And that was it. And then after about the first 3 or 4 months, I said, okay, I'm going for broke. Well, let's just keep this thing going. And that's when, later in 2015 is when Patricia and I finally started doing our thing. And then Jaronism and Glowbusters and just about everybody you saw in the documentary, we were scattered all over the place, but we started getting together. And then, to continue on really quick, because you got into it because of the documentary mostly, right? you had heard about it.
Yeah. Well, like I said earlier, and I kind of discussed this last week, I saw it in my social media, just like people that I've been following and, these big conspiracy people as well,
Right.
like you said, they've researched every conspiracy there is.
Yeah.
But I think that we've talked about this before, like when we first got married. But I think it was kind of maybe at the last priority list. It
Yeah.
wasn't something that was
Right. Yeah.
okay, is Hillary eating little baby children? It was, it was based on,
Yeah. And so I saw that, and so I started to do some more research. I started asking some of these people, to give me sources, books, articles, things like that. And I ended up talking to one of my friends who said that your documentary came out on Netflix, and I was like, oh my gosh, okay, well, and so we watched it, and that was really like the first time that we saw the vastness of the community.
Yeah, I didn't even know there's convention
Oh
there.
yeah.
I learned so much.
It really ramped up at the beginning of 2016 when we thought it was just going to go kind of organically. That's when rapper B.O.B. made that song called Flatline against Neil deGrasse Tyson. And all Neil had to do was shut up. He didn't have to respond. But no, Neil goes on Comedy Central and drops the mic and does this whole montage. I'm going, what are you doing? You don't have to respond. And then that carried mostly through 2016, and then 2017, Kyrie Irving did his thing. The basketball player that plays for the Cavaliers when he was playing with LeBron, and the LeBron is like, oh yeah, whatever he thinks, totally great with me. It's like, oh my God, do you know how much marketing that is? I mean, we could give LeBron a briefcase of money and he wouldn't have done that for us. He did it for free.
Yeah.
And that carried us through most of 2017. Then Mad Mike with his rocket thing at the beginning of 2018. But yeah, we decided to do a conference in 2017, and this year we have conferences in, oh my God, let's see, New Zealand in 3 weeks, Calgary, Stockholm, UK, Mount Shasta, California, of all places, Amsterdam, and Dallas.
Wow.
That I still have to do this year. We already did LA just a little while ago. So yeah, it's freaking but sorry, I have to butt in real quick, which is until the documentary had gone through the film festival thing in 2018 and was released in November on iTunes and Amazon and YouTube movies and stuff. I had no idea that everybody owned Netflix except me. Everybody's got Netflix. And so when it came out on Netflix, everything just exploded. And it's like, why? It's like, oh, because apparently everybody by default owns Netflix.
Yeah, matter of fact, we actually don't even pay for any kind of dish or cable TV. We only have Prime and
Netflix.
Yeah, between those two, between Amazon Prime and Netflix, there's so much content.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So, and we watch the same things. We watch Friends over and over again. So it's unless we find a good documentary that we want to watch, then we watch that. But
So
sorry, go ahead.
I have a good question. From what I've seen, and I think your story is actually different. What I've seen is that most people who believe in a flat Earth start with the biblical cosmology. Is that where you began?
Yes. So my story, I didn't talk about this in the movie. Well, I did, but they edited it out. You gotta remember the film team that covered this did not want to go into the biblical side at all. They definitely didn't want to show, and they didn't, not a sliver. I mean, anyone that was into biblical conspiracies and biblical prophecies, they were the only reason they even showed Robbie Davidson, for example, who's a super strong Christian, is because he ran the conference. And so otherwise they would have cut him out because they wanted to keep the biblical thing out of it. So they kept Rob Skiba out, and all the other guys. I don't want to go. We don't have time to go into all of them. But yeah, so I was raised a born again Christian, where church wasn't just a Sunday thing. We had youth group and Vacation Bible School and Camp Malibu and all this stuff. And I grew up on a sheltered island up in the Northwest. And then when I went to university, he was like, wait, there's more than one religion? I had no idea. I was so naive about everything when I first got out into the world. And then I got into tech, which was really bad because then you just fall away entirely. It's like, church, who needs that? Give me the latest tech gadgets. I love it. And that's what I did for the longest time. And then when I got into this, it snapped me right back into spirituality. And I've heard this time and time and time again from people. In fact, I've heard so many people in the hardcore Christian side of Flat Earth that said, we've never seen a recruiting tool like this, ever. In fact, I just did a Christian radio station a couple hours ago. And they said, oh, yeah, in fact, not only do we have Flat Earth conferences, there are dedicated Christian Flat Earth conferences on top of it. Yeah, that's how big it is. So sorry, I don't know if that was your question, but yes, by default, and the reason is because if it was built, if the default shape is a snow globe, we'll just use snow globe, right? Because that's easy to understand. Then it's not organic, right? That means it was built by someone. That means it was created. Means there's some sort of creator. At that point, you've only got two choices, which is an advanced civilization that's much older than ourselves, or the divine. Take your pick. By that point, you're kind of splitting hairs. And so, as some people have said, that Flat Earth will eventually kill atheism altogether. And it's like, well, maybe not kill it entirely, but make it an endangered species to be sure.
Interesting.
Go ahead. Sorry, I rambled.
That's fascinating. And so you're talking about these conferences. What would one expect at these conferences? What is the point of the conference?
Bedlam. Bedlam. It's just chaos. No. Here's why the conferences, the meetups, the regional meetups, and we've had hundreds of those things. In fact, I've got to make 3 more promos tomorrow. The reason why the conferences do as well as they do is because 90% of the Flat Earth membership are still in the closet. I've got people in my family, extended family, like cousins, who was like, yeah, dude, I'm totally into this. I'm not discussing it with my spouse. I'm not talking about it with my friends or my coworkers because they're scared. And I mean, heck, I've talked to celebrities you would know, and who say, yeah, we're not coming out yet because we saw what happened with Kyrie. I mean, you got to remember, Kyrie has to go into the locker room after every freaking game, and the reporters have that in their back pocket now. So if they don't care, it's like, fine, you shot 10 points this evening. Let's talk about Flat Earth.
Right.
It's so tired of that.
Yeah.
But
it's almost like us, like when we first decided not to vaccinate our children. Yeah. We were like, okay, are we like ready to brave all of our friends and family who are going to like ostracize us?
Yeah.
But now we're at a point, like we just had our second one 7 months ago, and now we're like, we don't really care what you think. This is our stance. This is what we've researched. This is what we believe. You either love us or you don't. Like,
absolutely good for you.
Yeah.
Sorry, short answer though to what to expect the conference. Because of all that peer pressure, people go to these conferences to be around like-minded people. Okay. So it's kind of like, it's sound bad, but it's kind of like a happy AA meeting when you go there. It's like everyone's like, hey, my name's Mark. Hey, for 3 years now. First started, and then you tell your story, and people get so amped up because you realize you're not going to be judged by anybody there that nobody sleeps. I mean, like the Raleigh conference, there was so much they edited out. I mean, nobody slept for 4 days. They were just so excited about being there with people. We get kicked out of restaurants on a regular basis because nobody wants to shut down. I mean, you can probably hear it with me. I mean, you remember I've been doing this now for a while, and I still get pumped up.
Yeah. Okay. This doesn't lead into my next question, but I do have another question, and it's why is it important to study the shape of the Earth? What is because you've dedicated your life now to this, right? I mean, this is what you pretty much.
This is what I do.
Why is that so important? Why is it, especially as a Christian or something, why would you say that it's so important to know and to study these kinds of things?
Okay. The reason why, and that's kind of a version of 1 out of every 10 people ask me, why should I care if the Earth is flat or not? For example, it's like, my spouse hates me and my kids don't listen to me and I got to go to my terrible job in the morning. Why do I even care if it's flat? And it's like, well, here's the thing. It's because it changes everything around you. It's kind of like until you believe it, you don't care. It's kind of like telling somebody that when they're 30 that they're adopted. And if I say, hey, you know what? I think you're adopted, right? You're being like, whatever, get out of here. You're just going to blow me off and blow me off. The second you start believing it, though, all of a sudden there's these ripples that go back in time all the way to when you're 6 years old. It's like, wait a minute. What if I was adopted? Wait, who were those people? Was I in a basket? And then all of a sudden your mind is just spinning. So if you can get into flat Earth, if you can get your head around it, even briefly, it opens up your mind to a lot of things. A lot of things. First off, you'll revisit every conspiracy you've ever looked at ever in your life. But the other thing is, all of a sudden, you become, and this is going to sound like a kumbaya type thing, but you become significant. Meaning, up until now, remember, you were taught you were on this little rock that's covered with a thin shell of water, which is surrounded by a thin veil of smoke that's going through an endless universe, and you're absolutely accidental and you mean nothing. You have no purpose in this universe whatsoever. You are just whatever science tells you are. But if it's an enclosed world, God's footstool, whatever you want to call it, then it was very deliberate, and you were put here for a very specific reason, and the entire structure was built for you. You have meaning. And that overcomes people. I mean, I'm not kidding you. There's a lot of individuals that I've met that's like, you know what? I didn't even think about the Bible until I got into flat Earth. And it's like, now it's like, I'm looking for Bibles. There was a great video I just watched today where like the guy freaked out immediately, called up his friend. It's like, hey man, you work at a hotel, right? It's like, yeah. Do the Gideons still put things in the Bibles he goes, yeah. Can I have one? I'm going to drive down right now. And he did. He went down and got one. He started getting into it. So it's like, I can't exaggerate it. It is a spiritual tool more than anything. And I'm not trying to make science scared. But that's the other thing, which is because National Geographic, they asked me questions that I'd never heard before, which was, what happens to medicine? What happens to technology? What happens to civilization as we know it? Aren't you saying that this could lead us into the new dark ages? I'm going, I don't know if you should be that heavy, man. I don't think it's that bad. But besides, we haven't had any incidents. I mean, there's happy songs. Look like type in like flat Earth music or flat Earth song. I've got a playlist on my YouTube channel. It's like 300 tracks.
Oh my God.
And they're all happy. Find me a happy song about JFK. You're not going to find one.
Right.
That's, no one with a banjo is going, oh, JFK shot in the head. You're not going to hear that. But flat Earth, people it just opens their minds up. Sorry, I get pumped. You gotta stop me.
I love
it.
Yeah, we're both Seth and I, when we're passionate about something, we can just go on and on.
Oh
about
man, you have no idea.
So much,
but it's interesting, and you're hitting my buttons here, Mark, because I'm a conspiracy theory nut as well. Not based off of feelings or emotions, but on recorded, documented paper trails. And you mentioned that believing in a flat Earth kind of makes you rethink all these conspiracies. So the first one that comes to mind, in my opinion, and I'm sure you've done some research into this, is the Hollow Earth, which was propagated by Hitler, the Nazis, the Aryan race, Shambhala. There was this paradise within the earth. So what was the correlation between, or the lack of correlation that came, or why did they think that the earth was hollow as opposed to flat?
Okay, this is going to freak you out because I know you haven't really looked into this much. I got into flat Earth because of Hollow Earth. That's how I started down this path. I was revisiting a lot of old, like you're going through old television shows, right? And like going through old conspiracies, like, oh, what's happening in the Hollow Earth thing? Oh yeah, Mount Shasta, blah, blah, blah. And then Bird Poll 1926, and what we're still good?
Yeah, you just pause for a sec.
Oh, it's okay. So Admiral Byrd goes up to the North Pole in 1926, and that's where most of the Hollow Earth story stems from, is Admiral Byrd in 1926. And then all of a sudden I realized that he left the North Pole in 1926, and the government sent him straight to the South Pole in 1928, Antarctica, and he spent basically the rest of his